Did you know that after the age of 70, most people begin to feel their health, their strength, even their mind slipping away little by little? It doesn't matter if you've eaten right, exercised, or lived what you thought was a healthy life. Time has a way of showing up at your door. Sometimes the changes feel small at first. Maybe your grip feels weaker when opening a jar. Maybe a name escapes your memory in conversation. Maybe walking across the room makes you breathe just a little heavier than before. First, you shrug it off. You tell yourself it's just a moment, nothing to worry about. But as the years pass, these small cracks can deepen. And if left unacknowledged, they don't just affect the body. They begin to chip away at something far greater: your confidence, your freedom, and your independence. I've spoken to seniors who told me the hardest part wasn't the physical change itself. It was the quiet fear that came with it. The fear of falling, the fear of forgetting, the fear of becoming a burden. And too often, that fear leads to pulling back from life. But here's the truth. Aging doesn't have to mean breaking. It doesn't have to mean surrender. Yes, there are challenges that arrive after 70, real undeniable challenges. But every one of them can be faced with wisdom, preparation, and resilience. And that's why this video is so important. Because today, I'm going to walk you through 7 things that can quietly break you after 70. The physical, mental, and emotional shifts that most people don't talk about until they're already struggling. But more importantly, I'm going to share how you can guard yourself against them, how you can strengthen your body, sharpen your mind, and protect your independence. Because this stage of life is not the end. It is a chapter that can still be full of dignity, freedom, and purpose, so stay with me until the end. Because understanding these 7 challenges isn't about fear. It's about knowledge. And knowledge is power, the power to act, to prepare, and to keep living fully. Now let's begin. One of the very first things that begins to break many people after 70 is declining muscle strength. The medical term for this is sarcopenia, the slow, steady loss of muscle mass and function that comes with age. It begins quietly, long before you notice it. Fibers inside the muscle shrink. Your body becomes less efficient at repairing tissue. And without regular strength use, the muscles weaken faster. At first, you may not even realize it's happening. Maybe the grocery bag that once felt light now feels heavier. Maybe bending to pick something up requires more effort. Maybe you notice you're moving slower, climbing stairs more carefully, or avoiding tasks that once felt simple. But sarcopenia is about more than just feeling weak. Muscles are the body's foundation. They hold up your posture, protect your bones, and give you the balance to walk steadily. When that foundation erodes, the risks multiply. Falls are one of the greatest dangers for older adults. A simple stumble on the porch, a misstep in the kitchen, or tripping over a rug can change life in an instant. A fractured hip, a broken wrist, even a minor injury can lead to months of painful recovery. And too often, people never fully regain the independence they once had. Take the story of Raymond, a 73-year-old who took pride in staying active. For years he walked every morning, rain or shine. But slowly he noticed his legs felt heavier, his steps less steady. One afternoon, while bending to tie his shoes, he lost his balance and fell. Thankfully, the injury was minor. But the fear it planted in his mind was anything but minor. He started walking shorter distances. He avoided the uneven sidewalks where he once strolled confidently. And with each step he didn't take, his muscles grew weaker. This is the vicious cycle sarcopenia creates. Weakness leads to fear, fear leads to inactivity, and inactivity only makes the weakness worse. And it's not just physical. The psychological impact is enormous. Imagine no longer trusting your own body to do the tasks you've done for decades. Imagine the quiet anxiety of wondering if you'll fall when no one's around to help you. Slowly, your world begins to shrink. The house becomes a cage, not because the door is locked, but because fear locks you in. But here's the good news: you are not powerless. Even after 70, the body is remarkably capable of rebuilding strength. It doesn't require heavy weights or grueling workouts. Gentle resistance training with light dumbbells or elastic bands can preserve and even restore muscle. Simple bodyweight exercises, sitting and standing from a chair, wall push-ups or light squats, make a difference. Pair that with regular walking or balance exercises, and you begin to restore not only strength but confidence. Nutrition plays a vital role too. Seniors often eat less protein than they need. Yet protein is the very building block of muscle. Eggs, beans, fish, lean meats, and even plant proteins can give your muscles the fuel they need. It's important to understand. Ignoring sarcopenia doesn't make it go away. Hoping it won't matter only speeds up the loss. But when you recognize the signs early and take action, you interrupt the cycle. You give yourself the chance not only to maintain your independence, but to enjoy the everyday freedom of movement that so many take for granted. Declining muscle strength may be one of the first things to break you after 70. But if you fight it with patience, consistency, and care, it doesn't have to break your spirit or your independence. Another thing that begins to quietly chip away at independence after 70 is memory decline and mental slowness. Many seniors describe it not as a sudden collapse, but as a creeping fog. At first, it's small. Misplacing keys, forgetting a name, struggling to recall a word that used to come so naturally. Over time, these lapses happen more often, and with each one, a seed of worry is planted. The truth is, the brain doesn't wear out like an old machine, but it does change. Neurons fire a little more slowly. Pathways that once carried information effortlessly now take longer to connect. Multitasking, something you may have prided yourself on in the past, suddenly feels exhausting. For Margaret, a 78-year-old grandmother, this change was heartbreaking. She loved doing crossword puzzles and helping her grandchildren with schoolwork. But slowly, she noticed she was taking longer to finish puzzles. Sometimes she'd lose her train of thought mid-sentence. The first time she froze in the middle of telling a story at a family dinner, she laughed it off. But inside, she felt a deep embarrassment. With each stumble, her confidence sank. She began speaking less at gatherings, afraid she'd make another mistake. Her children noticed the sadness in her eyes when she sat quietly while others chatted around her. For Margaret, the hardest part wasn't forgetting the words. It was the slow erosion of her identity as the sharp, witty, dependable woman she had always been. And this is the danger. Memory decline is not only about frustration or embarrassment. It can threaten safety. Forgetting to turn off the stove, missing important medications, losing track of bills, or falling victim to scams. A small mistake in memory can snowball into real risks for health, security, and independence. Emotionally, the burden can be crushing. Many seniors fear dementia more than almost any other diagnosis. Even mild forgetfulness can trigger thoughts like, "Am I losing myself? Will I become a burden to my children? Will I need to leave my home?" That fear itself can be damaging. Some seniors, in an attempt to protect themselves from embarrassment, withdraw from conversation. At first, it's small. Misplacing keys, forgetting a name, struggling to recall a word that used to come so naturally. Over time, these lapses happen more often, And with each one, a seed of worry is planted. The truth is, the brain doesn't wear out like an old machine. But it does change. Neurons fire a little more slowly. Pathways that once carried information effortlessly now take longer to connect. Multitasking, something you may have prided yourself on in the past, suddenly feels exhausting. For Margaret, a 78-year-old grandmother, this change was heartbreaking. She loved doing crossword puzzles and helping her grandchildren with schoolwork. But slowly, she noticed she was taking longer to finish puzzles. Sometimes she'd lose her train of thought mid-sentence. The first time she froze in the middle of telling a story at a family dinner, she laughed it off. But inside, she felt a deep embarrassment. With each stumble, her confidence sank. She began speaking less at gatherings, afraid she'd make another mistake. Her children noticed the sadness in her eyes when she sat quietly while others chatted around her. For Margaret, the hardest part wasn't forgetting the words. It was the slow erosion of her identity as the sharp, witty, dependable woman she had always been. And this is the danger. Memory decline is not only about frustration or embarrassment. It can threaten safety. Forgetting to turn off the stove. Missing important medications. Losing track of bills or falling victim to scams. A small mistake in memory can snowball into real risks for health, security, and independence. Emotionally, the burden can be crushing. Many seniors fear dementia more than almost any other diagnosis. Even mild forgetfulness can trigger thoughts like, "Am I losing myself? Will I become a burden to my children? Will I need to leave my home?" That fear itself can be damaging. Some seniors, in an attempt to protect themselves from embarrassment, withdraw from conversation or avoid social settings. Ironically, this withdrawal only accelerates the decline. The brain, much like the body, weakens when it's not used. But here's the empowering truth. You are not helpless against memory decline. Science shows that the brain can build new connections at any age. A concept called neuroplasticity. Even in later years, your brain can adapt, strengthen, and sharpen when you challenge it. How to fight back. Stay mentally active. Read books, write, solve puzzles, play games that make you think. Even learning something new, like a musical instrument, a new language, or using technology, sparks fresh connections. Stay socially engaged. Conversations, laughter, and connection with others stimulate the brain in ways isolation never can. Social ties are brain medicine. Build routines. Keeping consistent schedules for medications, meals, and daily tasks reduces the burden on memory and provides structure. Prioritize brain health. Get enough sleep, manage stress, exercise regularly. Because physical health and brain health are deeply connected. Protect yourself medically. If lapses are frequent or concerning, seek professional evaluation. Sometimes vitamin deficiencies, medications, or other treatable issues play a role. Remember this, occasional forgetfulness is part of normal aging. But it doesn't have to define you. Each time you pick up a book, share a story, or challenge yourself with something new, you're sending your brain a message. I'm still here. I'm still alive. I'm still learning. Memory decline may whisper that you are fading, but every effort you make to stay sharp, every puzzle solved, every conversation held, every moment of engagement, is a shield against that decline. And in that fight, you protect not just your memory, but your dignity and your independence. By the time we reach our 70s, our bones and joints often carry the weight of a lifetime of wear and tear. The cartilage that once cushioned every step thins out, leaving bone to rub against bone. Ligaments and tendons lose elasticity. Joints stiffen. And then arthritis, that grinding, persistent companion, begins to make its presence known. It's not just about discomfort. Pain has a way of dictating how you live your life. Take Eleanor, 74. She loved tending to her garden. It was her joy, her therapy, her connection to the earth. But bending down started sending sharp pain through her knees. Slowly, she stopped gardening as much. Then she stopped walking in the park. Before long, she was moving less and less. And with that, her strength, balance, and confidence began to slip away. That's the hidden danger. Pain convinces us to avoid movement. But the less we move, the stiffer our joints become, the weaker our muscles get, and the greater the risk of falls or fractures. The body spirals downward not because of age alone, but because pain closed the door to activity. On top of that, osteoporosis, the silent thief of bone density, makes bones more fragile. A small stumble can lead to a broken hip or wrist. And for many seniors, that single fracture marks the beginning of losing independence. But here's the truth. While we can't erase decades of wear, we can fight back. Movement, even small, gentle movement, is medicine. Walking, swimming, tai chi, or even chair exercises keep joints lubricated, muscles active, and bones stimulated. Weight-bearing activities like light resistance training actually send signals to bones to stay strong. And physical therapy can teach ways to move without aggravating pain, while still keeping the body active. Nutrition also plays its part. Calcium, vitamin D, and protein are essential to maintaining bone health. And under medical supervision, pain management or joint treatments can give you the relief needed to stay mobile. The key is this: don't let pain be the boss of your life. A little movement every day is not just about bones, it's about reclaiming freedom. Freedom to walk, to garden, to dance, to live on your own terms. Our senses, the very windows through which we experience life, naturally fade with age. The eyes, once quick to focus, begin to strain. The lenses stiffen, making it harder to read the fine print on medicine labels or books. Colors dull. Night driving becomes intimidating, and cataracts may cloud vision. Hearing tells a similar story. High-pitched sounds fade first, then the ability to distinguish words in a noisy room. You hear voices but not the clarity of conversation. Laughter happens but you're not sure what was funny. Slowly, embarrassment creeps in. Instead of asking, "What did you say?" for the third time you smile and nod, pretending to follow along. The real danger isn't just missing details, it's isolation. When conversations become exhausting, when reading the paper feels like a struggle, when phone calls blur into mumbling, you start to retreat. You go out less. You talk less. And that social withdrawal chips away at the spirit. Loneliness isn't born overnight. It grows in silence. Take Harold, 76. He was sharp and witty, always ready with a joke. But as his hearing declined, he stopped going to his weekly coffee group. He told his daughter, "It's too loud in there, I can't keep up." What really hurt wasn't just the hearing loss, it was the loss of connection. The fear of seeming out of it made him shrink from the very friendships that gave him joy. But here's the hopeful truth. These changes don't have to steal your independence or your dignity. Regular checkups with an ophthalmologist can catch cataracts, glaucoma, and macular degeneration early, often before serious damage occurs. The right pair of glasses, good lighting in the home, or even something as simple as magnifying tools can make reading and daily tasks easier. For hearing, modern aids are no longer the bulky, whistling devices of the past. Today's technology is discreet, comfortable, and remarkably effective. Combine them with practical adjustments, like reducing background noise at home, facing people when they speak, and choosing quiet venues for gatherings, and communication can flourish again. Staying connected isn't just about health, it's about joy. Being able to hear your grandchild's laugh, read your favorite book, or take part in family conversations isn't a luxury. It's essential to well-being. The message is simple. Don't wait. Don't let pride or hesitation keep you from seeking help. Vision and hearing loss are not signs of weakness. They are signals to adapt. And with the right tools, you can keep experiencing the world in all its richness. These 7 challenges don't have to define your 70s, or your 80s, or even your 90s. Yes, time leaves its marks. Strength wanes, memory slows, bones ache, senses fade. Nutrition, immunity, and social bonds all need more care. These changes are real, but they are not destiny. Here's the truth. Recognition is power. The moment you see these patterns, you can choose differently. You can slow the slide. You can reclaim energy. You can protect independence. Think of aging not as a cliff where everything falls away, but as a path that requires steadier steps, sharper awareness, and intentional choices. Every step you take, moving your body, nourishing with good food, training your mind, reaching out to others, is a shield against decline. I once met a woman named Lillian, 81 years old. She told me something I'll never forget. The only thing worse than growing older is not growing older. She said it with a smile, as she adjusted her walking shoes before heading to her morning stroll. She wasn't ignoring the challenges. She was meeting them with courage and consistency. And that, more than age itself, is what kept her spirit young.